Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abassi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And I will apologize in advance if you hear Boris the bulldog panting. It's very loud to me, but maybe you can't hear it at all because of my amazing Apple devices. And Autumn is here rooting us on as we perform our podcast episode today, right? So for those of you on camera, or looking at the video, I just showed her and she's got sleep in her eyes. Okay. Uh, Today I wanted to talk about um, what this feeling of faith is like for me in my life. Turning my will and my life over is step three. And I really only recently am starting to see what it meant, turning my will and my life over. Like when I first got into the program, I read this, okay, so step one, I recognized that my life was unmanageable. I recognized that I didn't quite recognize that I was going to die if I kept drinking, but I did know that I was very sick. Um, and that my life was falling apart. My jobs all, had increasingly became difficult to keep. Um, and my relationships as well. I wasn't giving anything to my relationships. I was really taking. I didn't quite see that, but I knew that my relationships weren't healthy and they weren't what I think that they should have been. So I like kind of had a bit of a understanding that there was a bunch of stuff that needed to be fixed, but I didn't quite realize how desperate I was until I started talking about it. And that's the importance, I think, of sharing. So this idea of turning my will and my life over, like, okay, so step one, I realized my life was unmanageable. Step two, um, I was seeking something outside of myself. And I got very hung up on step two. I was trying to figure out what my higher power was going to be. I rather than understanding the core of what the step was, which is stop searching inside of me for the answer because I can't find it. It's not there. I need something outside of myself. Whatever that thing is, um, it doesn't matter. But what matters is my ability to practice step three with whatever that is that I've chosen as my higher power. And I was so caught up in the choosing that I wasn't turning anything over. There was a time when I went to a psychiatrist. No, what was she? An addiction therapist. And this before I got sober and really was had any intention of getting sober. I was trying to find the solution. I felt like I was smart enough to do this, to figure this out, to figure out how to drink responsibly. And but I at the time I felt like I was trying AA. So I was talking to her about my step two, and I remember saying, I'm trying to figure out what this step two is for me. Like, I know people can make it like the sunshine, some people can make it nature, some people can make it the program. And I don't have any idea what she was saying back to me. I wasn't listening because I was still searching for the answer inside of me. I didn't know it. I'm standing there or sitting there in front of a addiction therapist, so it appeared that I was reaching out to for help, but I wasn't listening to the help. I was still searching inside of myself. And that's what recently, going back to the psychiatrist, that's what I told her. And I think I shared with you guys that I was talking to her, but I was trying to come up with the solution before I really expressed the deep problem that was happening. Um, so I think that's what was happening during this time that I was trying to figure out my step two. Um, I I don't know how it unfolded for me. I feel like my sponsor just kept telling me to pray, and I felt icky. Like prayer and the whole God thing just felt icky to talk about. Even with one person, even with just my sponsor, I couldn't say the God word without feeling uncomfortable because it just felt like something I wasn't supposed to talk about. Um, so the more she kept telling me that, the more at least I got comfortable hearing it, hearing somebody say that to me. My first sponsor my first sponsor where I actually didn't drink. She was had a very close relationship with her understanding of God. And it was inspiring to me, yet it didn't feel like it was for me. So I just kept listening. At least I kept showing up to listen. And eventually, I started to entertain this idea that maybe I can pray. And that's because I listened in meetings to other people say, I don't know what I'm doing when I pray. I'm just talking to one of my friends calls her higher power dude. And I've heard lots of others. Some people, their higher power is a woman, that kind of thing. Whatever you choose, it doesn't matter. It's when you start tipping over towards talking to it. That is building a relationship with it, whether it feels like it or not. Imagine being stuck in a room with a complete stranger for, I don't know, pick a time, for 10 minutes a day. And it's not long enough where you really have time to get to know each other, you know? So in the beginning, you're just sitting there. Hi, how you doing? You know? And then day after day, you start getting more comfortable sitting in the room with this person because you know what to expect, right? You know they're going to sit there and I'm going to sit there, right? And then the next day you're like, oh, they're probably going to have pants on. They always wear pants. And then the next day it's like, well, she has long hair. I have long hair. There, we have something in common. And as you continue to show up and expose yourself to this person and they expose themselves to you, there is a relationship that begins, whether you know what to talk about or not. Whether you even know if they speak the same language as you. You don't know, but you keep showing up and something starts building. There is something that's happening and it's an interchange. It's an interchange. So there is nothing that has happened between me and the other person. I haven't actually asked them what their name is, even. But having that familiarity and showing up created an interchange that to me is like comfort, a comfort level. And we start being ready for the next stage, the next level of the relationship. And when I'm ready for that, it's like I'm releasing tension, the nervousness of talking to this person. When I'm ready, I have already released this tension. I've let go of my inhibitions about who this person is or what kind of relationship we're going to have. Because all I know right now is that I can show up and they can show up and it's fine. Everything is fine. So there's this feeling of tension that's released, and then what fills in what's left over from where that tension existed is a light, right? It's like hope that maybe I can get to know this person. I mean, they don't seem crazy. They're just sitting there just like me. Um, I have to show up. Um, so I can't change the fact that I need to show up in this room every day for 10 minutes. Um, and originally, I couldn't really accept it either. I'm sitting in this room with this person, and it feels useless. Why am I sitting here with this person? So what do we do? What do we do when we're approached with something that we can't change, but we can't accept it? Well, in my program, what I have learned through practice is I just keep showing up. I stay consistent. I don't waver. The promises of the program I have seen, specifically the financial one, is an example for me that if I remained consistent, which I did in how I spent my money or didn't, no longer spent my money, I started to have more money. I started to have a little bit of extra money rather than going in debt over buying alcohol. So I remained consistent, and eventually I actually did get rid of all of my debt. I mean, I never imagined I was sure I was going to go to my grave with an enormous amount of debt because of all of my poor decisions about money management throughout my life, throughout my early life. But through consistency, I was able to start seeing something positive happen. And so as I show up in this room with this person for 10 minutes a day, I start to see through consistency that everything is okay and something is happening. Something good is happening. Um, that is my, I guess, example of what how faith grows. That is how faith has grown for me. I heard somebody say this morning, either God is nothing, either God is everything or he is nothing. And that is the decision that I had to make when I went on that business trip to San Francisco. And I was walking around the block over and over again, thinking in early sobriety, if I drink, nobody will know. Nobody will know. I might as well just do it. But there was something in me that was like, d wanted. It wanted to be sober. I wanted to be sober. I just didn't know how. And I kept repeating, nobody will know. Nobody will know. And then I was stopped in my tracks and I was like, wait a minute. Um, if I'm really doing this step 2 thing and step 3 thing, then my higher power will know. And that was the moment that my understanding of God became everything rather than nothing. My understanding of God is why I stayed sober that day. It is, period. It is. It was the only thing that kept me from a drink that night was faith. And because of that faith, I continue to have hope. Um, And I continue to show up on days that I don't have hope because I know that through practice, consistency is what has healed me. I don't progressively get better and better and better and better every day. I just don't. That's life. Um, Life doesn't get easier and easier and easier and easier every day. But when I stay consistent, and that's what the work is staying consistent. Even on days, and you've heard me say it recently, I'm so tired of this, right? I've said in early sobriety, like after a year, I was like, I'm so tired of being sober. It might have not even be a year. And I said recently, I'm so tired of recovery, of stroke recovery. It's exhausting. The part that is exhausting is the consistency. You know, when you have to get up every morning at 6:30 and take a shower and get ready for work, that is what I'm talking about. The consistency can be tiring, but what matters is not, I can't relieve that tension or exhaustion from getting up at 6:30 every day by snoozing my alarm and sleeping in. It may temporarily feel good, but then I'm going to feel stressed out that I didn't do what I was supposed to do. The way that I relieve that exhaustion from my consistency is through self-care. So that means maybe I'm going to get up and anyway and take a shower and get ready for work. But maybe I'm going to throw a shower bomb in my shower this morning. Like it's the tiniest little things that add a little bit of, you deserve this and good job. That's the most important part is give myself a little reward for a little pat on the back for being consistent because it's hard to be consistent and not see a lot of benefit from it. Um, that instant gratification that my disease wants to see, I'm not getting it. I'm just plain old not getting it. I have to be in this for the long run. And I have been seeing positive change, but it requires me to show up every day. And then sometimes when I show up, I can expect a little less from myself. Like, I'm gonna show up today. I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna take my dogs out. I'm gonna do my morning meeting. But then I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna listen to a book because my head is hurting and I need relief. Um, so it's being consistent, but also being gentle. Um, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about how how consistency has driven faith in my life, and it has developed something within me. Um, some people call it a relationship with their higher power. Some people call it a relationship with themselves. You know, I feel like there's a lot of that all combined that's happening, but consistency has given me the space to let go of the tension and the exhaustion and make room for the light and the hope and the faith. So that's another reason why I come here every day. And I'm so happy that you do too. So thanks for showing up for me. Thanks for showing up for yourself today. We'll give you one more shot of Autumn. Autumn, look at the camera. Over here, over here, over here. Autumn. Yes, good girl. Okay, I'll give you a shot of Bob's too. There he is. All right, we'll see ya.